Let's start. Before moving on to the actual video, or before I talk about the actual points related to minimalist photography, I really want to talk about the basics first, because I don't want to jump directly onto the points. So if in general I talk about minimalist photography, it is keeping only the don't keep extra elements. It is keeping only the important elements, only the essential and required elements into your frames, and removing all the unnecessary elements from your frames. So this is the most basic definition I could think of minimalist photography. So basically, this is what you need to do. Simplify, yeah. Less is more, as they say. Also, before moving on to the video, I really want to add this point, that the minimalist photography, it is really subjective in nature. One person may find it, very soothing, very calm and peaceful, whereas on the other hand, the other person, may find it meaningless and boring. So before moving on to the elements of minimalist photography, I really want to talk about white color and minimalism. What is it about white color and minimalism? Or does minimalism always mean white? Or why is white color always associated with minimalism? I had these questions in my mind. जब भी मैं Pinterest पे scroll करती थी, तो 99% of the images were almost, in the white shade. I was quite curious and I was quite inquisitive. What is it about white color that just screams minimalism? So then I read few articles and then I came to know about this, but I don't know if you know about this, but white color stands for peace. It is related to simplicity, and it generally makes your space look bigger. So yeah, that is, I think, one of the most common reason why it is associated with minimalism. Also, I would like to add one most important point over here is it isn't always white, but it mostly is. I hope you get the idea, because you can also play with bold colors, when it comes to minimalist photography. So the most common element of minimalist photography has to be negative space. I have personally experienced it for myself. When you incorporate negative space into your frames, you automatically remove the distractions from your frames. Also, you give your viewers a chance to breathe, a room to breathe. Also, with the help of negative space, you give your viewers time to rest onto the frame, rather than your viewer is just going here and there onto the frame and don't know where to focus. So it is generally a great trick to achieve minimalist compositions. And if you're shooting something related to minimalist photography, the next time I strongly recommend you to use negative space to make a greater impact into your photos. So you can use lake or sky as a negative space. So it is definitely one of the most common element of minimalist photography. Let's talk about the second element of minimalist photography, which is colors in minimalist photography. There is no rule stating that your minimalist photos cannot be colorful. In fact, if you use bold colors into your images, those images are as effective as the white minimalist photos that you see all over the internet. So definitely you can go for colorful subjects and have a plain background in contrast, or you can use blue sky as negative space, you can use blue beach, you can use blue lake as negative space. So you have a whole lot of variety over here. बहुत ज़्यादा variety है, and I don't think there is much to talk about colors in minimalist photography, but I hope you're getting the idea. So you can play with bold colors and be creative. So let's talk about the next point, which is isolating your subject. Very very important in minimalist photography. मतलब focus आपका सीधा subject पे जाना चाहिए. अगर if you are shooting portrait photography, तो focus आपका किसी your model पे जाना चाहिए. अगर आप एक boat की photo ले रहे हो तो boat पे जाना चाहिए, bird पे जाना चाहिए, मतलब ठक 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 ऐसे subject पे focus जाना चाहिए. You need to know these tricks to how to isolate your subjects specifically in minimalist photography. One way you can isolate your subject is by using a 50 mm लेंस. आपका जो सब्जेक्ट और बैकग्राउंड का डिस्टेंस होगा थोड़ा दूर रखोगे तो वो ब्लर हो जाएगा, तो आपका जो सब्जेक्ट है वो पॉप करेगा. सो दिस इज वन वेरी सिंपल एंड बेसिक वे टू आइसोलेट योर सब्जेक्ट. द सेकंड वे इज टू शूट फ्रॉम अ लो एंगल. तो अगर आप स्काई एज अ बैकग्राउंड यूज कर रहे हो, यू कैन टिल्ट योर कैमरा एंड यू कैन शूट एट अ लोअर एंगल, विच ऑटोमेटिकली रिमूव्स द डिस्ट्रैक्शंस फ्रॉम योर फ्रेम्स. थर्ड पॉइंट दैट आई नीड टू सी, क्योंकि मैं भूल चुकी हूँ. द थर्ड पॉइंट इज to keep only the max 3 elements into your frames. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 4 रख सकते हो, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं रखना है क्योंकि भसड़ मच जाएगी. I almost try कि मैं जो elements रखती हूँ, I try to keep them एट मैक्स 3 एलिमेंट। The next and the most important point about minimalist photography is composition. It can make or break your game. So I'm going to list a few compositions that you can apply in order to get started with minimalist photography. The first one is you can use 50-50 composition. You can use symmetrical frames. The second is rule of thirds. I think बहुत ही ज़्यादा basic है rule of thirds, सबको पता होगा. It really make your minimal picture stand out. Then the next composition is you can use the centered composition, जहाँ पे आप अपने सब्जेक्ट को सेंटर में रखते हो. सेंटर कॉम्पोजिशन really makes your picture stand out when it comes to minimalist photography. And the most important and my favorite composition is frame within a frame. I really like it. I really like creating such pictures where you see frame in a frame composition. So yes, I think अगर आप इन चीज़ों से start करोगे, really practice करोगे, so I think in generally आपकी जो composition techniques हैं, they are going to get better with time. The next point that I want to talk about is camera settings. You should be able to experiment with your camera settings. आपकी aperture क्या होनी चाहिए, focal length क्या होनी चाहिए. You should be able to find the right focal length and ultimately you should think very carefully about each of the elements into your frames and how those elements work together in order to serve your vision. With the time you're going to learn how to experiment with camera settings. The more you will practice, the more you will find it easier to experiment different camera settings and what kind of mood you want to create into your images. So let's talk about the bonus points that I was talking about earlier. Shall we? So these are the bonus points that I have used personally and it is not necessary कि आपको भी ये use करने हैं, but it has changed my whole game of minimalist photography. So अगर आपको use करने हैं तो आप कर सकते हैं. It depends from artist to artist. As I said earlier, minimalist photography is very subjective in nature. एक बंदे को पसंद आएगा, comparatively दूसरे बंदे को boring लगने वाला है. So if I talk about the first bonus point, which is stop using vignette in your images because it gives a sense of closed space and it generally diverts you from the minimalist composition. So yes, number one point has to be stop using vignette into your images. The second point that I want to talk about in today's video is start shooting in black and white if color is one of the most distracting element into your images, because generally black and white composition, it is considered to be one of the most strong compositions when it comes to minimalist photography. And the third point that I want to talk about is भूल जाती हूँ avoid using harsh contrast into your images. I think जब से मैंने harsh contrast use करना बंद किया, I think I'm somehow more inclined towards minimalist photography and I have started liking minimalist photography more. But also this point strictly depends from artist to artist. But yes, for me it is definitely to avoid harsh contrast. अगर आप मेरी Instagram page पे जाकर देखोगे, जितनी भी minimalist photos हैं उसमें ज़्यादा harsh contrast नहीं होते हैं. So yes, this is definitely one of the most important point that I personally like. I hope you guys liked the video. These were actually the basic points that will get you started with minimalist photography. This is my Instagram handle if you want to see more stuff related to minimalist photography. Also, I have not added my editing procedure into this video because I think I kind of want to cover that topic for my next YouTube video, which brings me to the end of this video. Like, share and subscribe to my channel Aakanksha with double A, and I will see you in my next video. Till then, stay safe. Bye.